Hello, Earth Nation. This is Amanda with the Activated Earth, and this is my Summit 2023, all about nature connection and what it does for you. And I am here with Rachael Te Wano, and I am going to read her bio to you. She does some amazing things, and I've noticed that that your bio doesn't talk about a lot of the things that you have that are available. So I can't wait to get into those things as well. But here's Rachael. Okay, so Rachael is a woman diviner. She is a complex, multidimensional spiritual and energetic teacher. She does those teachings in a simplified practice, honoring both your soul and human aspects. It's her truth that you are the divination. She works in co-creation with your highest self, accessing your Akashic records through sacred sound and light language, removes galactic entities and deep lineage and past life trauma. Her connection to the earth is leading her in this life to reweave the forgotten threads of oneness. Rachael holds retreats with sacred sites around the world and resides in, could you please tell us what is Wadandi Boja? Is that right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. Known to the Wadandi people as the place of bees, and she is there with her husband and her two boys. She is in committed service to your awakening and the rhythms of the primordial mother. That's beautiful. And I have so many questions that I am curious about. And what I'd like to start with is this finding the threads of forgotten oneness. Could you describe what it is that you're doing there and why?
Yeah. Oh, what a good place to start. And firstly, thank you for having me. I feel so honored to speak with you today and all of the people that are drawn into this work. The threads of oneness, we are at the highest level, one with all, with the Sophia, with the primordial mother, with the creator, with source, whatever word one identifies with or likes to place on. And I feel that this human experience, this human walk, and because I work the occasion, I feel I really have that insight into the magnitude of all our incarnations. And sometimes through this human experience, the threads can sever or they can thin out so they're not really present in our daily living, breathing life. And there's this separation on some levels that we all feel. And I feel this big drumbeat call to really reweave these threads of connection. And I see it as a thread because I'm quite visual. I really, when I'm working with people and they come into themselves more, I literally see the threads weaving back together, like they're coming home to themselves and mother. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so needed. And I've noticed that you like to get people on the ground and get them activated. What is happening when you're engaging in ritual or ceremony like that with people?
Yeah. So being quite multidimensional, I see through the veils. And when I work, I'm working with the energetics and the physical body. So we can sit and talk and theorize and explore. But what I've found being an earth walker, that when we stand on the soil, when we stand on these earth templates that hold certain frequencies, it does activate our DNA and it can activate our remembrance. So what it looks like on my retreats is very much this feminine flow. We get into this alignment within the group where the earth and the stars are literally guiding us, and we are in that rhythm and oneness energy to really experience what the earth wants to speak to us, what the information and the energy and the data within the soil, within that sacred space, is really wanting to commune to us. So yeah, at whatever level, those that are drawn into circle, whatever their gifts are, some people don't see, some people don't sense. So I'm very accommodating. We just find our way, and I very much lead from a place where they do it their way. Like we all must find our way of doing it, and being on the earth together, it creates magic beyond what the human mind can sometimes even imagine. Sometimes, many times, especially in Avalon, when we're in this synergy with earth and stars, total strangers will weave into our retreat and play a role and become part of it, and so much synchronicity that it blows the human mind most of the time. And also then always the animals, Mother Gaia's creatures, will be doing a beautiful ceremony, or and then the wind picks up as you say something, so you become, in that beautiful rhythm, and then the birds will sing just as you finish, as if to say, we hear you, we see you, and we're all doing this together. Yeah.
I've seen those kinds of things happen too when I did retreats like that. Have you noticed that the land is different in different places as far as their messages, their codes?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of the potency of actually getting on the land. I had one of my beautiful clients who's been with me for years and years, who's watched me on retreats, and she said, it's a whole different experience when you get in and you're actually doing on these spaces. But even within certain areas, you can move or be called over to a stream or a lake, and there will be trauma held in the land, and so having the skill set and the trust in oneself to be able to work with the land and just almost like acupuncturist, just clear it. Also knowing that Mother Gaia is so potent and powerful. It's not like we are these humans that she needs to clear her lines. We're working together. But yes, there's so much held within different spaces and sites all over the world. So it's really trusting where you're being called to go, and then being still with the land, because yeah, so much is held within those spaces.
You just had one of these retreats in Glastonbury, which is a place that I love. And I always feel like when I'm in England, like I'm in my ancestral home. And
Mm.
I was wondering what the land there, what it gave you when you were there.
So much. The first time I actually walked there when I was 19, and I didn't have the language or the understanding of what was happening to me. I, for most of my teenage years, tried to shut down my gifts because there was no one external having these similar experiences as me. But I remember being taken to Glastonbury and walking the tour and just having all these past life remembrances flashing up. And it was almost like I knew where to turn. I knew those lands, and she just woke me up. And then it was, many years, actually 2017, and I was in the shower in Western Australia, and I heard the call. And being a ma with young babies, I literally left Western Australia, and I could only go for 5 days. That was all my heart could bear, to leave my babies. And after that trip, the land had asked me to return back to the heartlands. That's what I call Glastonbury and all of that region, for the next 10 years in devotion to this work. I think there's a really big call to return to the heart, to the mother, to the remembrance, and really being in worlds where so many dimensions all come in. It's almost like, when you're there, the veils are thin.
Mhm.
You can have your feet in so many dimensions all at once, and that's a big part of what that activation is. It's you only have to walk the soil, and I watch this with all of my guests, no matter where their awareness is, their consciousness is, time on those lands, in the heartlands, will really open up those higher um, upper chakras. And yeah, it's almost like the floodgates are opened. And as you know, you can simply be walking on the street and you're just constantly banging into people, strangers, but we know one another. There's there's a sparkle between your eyes, like, oh, who are you? And I think it's because we're all returning. We're all returning home to those heartlands.
And do you
Mm.
think that's what
So
matters? Is that part of why you're called to do what you do? This returning home?
I think I think it really matters, um, because the more that we can come home to ourselves, the more that we can come home to the energy of the earth, the more than we can remember our gifts of our ancient past, of our cache. I think we have a better opportunity to create a world where we really anchor this connection and this oneness to self and earth. So for me, yeah, it's at the forefront of my service, creating safe spaces, um, to allow people to step in where they are in the moment as themselves, yet, do this work. Mm.
The grid work that you do, is it similar to activating people with the land?
Yeah, the grid work, it's really funny. I traveled for 10 years, again, without the language or the knowing, in real innocence in that. But I look back now and I realize that I was placed all over these really potent earth grids. Um, and for me, I call it the Sophionic grid lines, because some of the spaces that I'm called to, so you'll have a big monument and all of the tourists will be over there and, having their amazing experience. But quite often I won't be on that line. I'll be off to the side in this little inconspicuous space. And for me, a lot of the really potent places are unknown, and it's through tuning into your soul and your intuition that you uncover and find these spaces. But for me, a lot of the time the potency is in the unknown, and
Yeah.
that's what I reveal and show, and go on little adventures. And when the intuition and confidence, because of the doing, happens with people that would not normally trust that intuition, but because they're in safe spaces, they'll say, oh, like, come over here and we feel this. And then so I work with the earth serpent and see
Mhm.
like the threads in the earth, I guess, like ley lines and energy lines, dragon lines.
I was going
Yeah.
to ask you about that, the earth serpent. I love that visual that I get as far as like what's in the earth. Would you just, since you brought it up, can we just dive into that deeply?
Yeah, and I feel really blessed. Just last weekend I did a Earth Walker retreat, and I did a guided journey for them to meet the earth serpent, and it's the first time I've done it in a group setting. And I'm really excited to see that relationship. For me, the earth serpent is the custodian of the land. So wherever you go, it's I'm always communing with that earth serpent. It's she that guides me a lot of the time. Through those spaces and into the next. I know when she's happy, I know when she's not happy. And a lot of the time, like grid workers and energy workers, are really communing with that earth serpent. So for me, she's a big guide on these earth working spaces. It's her that becomes the gatekeeper a lot of the time to the hidden information. So always when if the earth serpent comes or you become aware of it, and you will probably have your way, Amanda, but for me, whenever she comes, I always just show her my heart. I think that is the quickest, fastest way to really show your essence. And then it's through that connection to her energy that she can reveal so much about the land, about how she's feeling, what's happening in the earth, what she would like if she has eggs over there that have, not been respected. And then I work with her, and sometimes she's quite angry, sometimes she's sad, but it's just like having this conversation and giving her what she needs in that moment, and forming that relationship that has really guided me innocently on this journey.
What kind of
Mm,
work, can you give us some examples? I'm sure it's not always the same everywhere you go. What kind of work
yeah,
does the earth need that the serpent is guiding you to do? If you can give us an example.
yeah. For example, a lady wanted me to energetically connect to her property.
Mhm.
Now, her property, the landmass in Australia, the farmers here like have small cities, like the landmass is immense, and so they're agriculture farmers. They have sheep and all sorts of things, but there was like some energy that was off at different places. Just she's quite sensitive now to energy, and she wanted me to check her whole property. So I connected to the earth serpent, and where one of the sheds was, she had laid some eggs there, and because of the interference of the farming, and it was causing some, difference of opinion, different energy within the workers and everything around that spot. Like it was like a little vortex spot that was showing up in human life. And so just by her showing me that, and me working with her, energetically sort of harmonizing that space and that earth and those beautiful eggs, she was then calm. She wasn't fierce. She came out of protector mode, and that was just felt on the property. They're sleeping better. There was a maturity that came through on that land. So whatever land we're residing on, if the earth energy is harmonic, it absolutely affects like our daily life.
Mhm.
Our nervous system. How can we ground when that earth under us is fractured or not in harmony? And we definitely are coexisting, whether we know it or not.
What
Yeah.
do the eggs represent?
Well, newness and stagnation. So I always bring it into the body. So for me, because I work with the womb, I see the eggs as like the the ovaries that is within us. And for us, the eggs, the ovaries are like, you know, when you have those sparks of inspiration and that egg is released and then it comes down the fallopian tube and then comes down into the cauldron of the womb to become. And so she shows me that her eggs are like these sparks of newness, like seeds of creation of what can come. And a lot of the time, when that doesn't come into fruition, or like if we don't create space in our life for those sparks of creation to become something, what happens? We feel frustrated, we feel stagnant in life, and it is exactly the same in the earth. I always tend to bring it back to the body, and I see such a micro macro connection between us and the earth. So yeah, they very much mirror one another.
I was wondering for here. So I live in Eastern Kentucky, and I'm not far, maybe, a day's drive from various American Civil War battlefields. And I haven't ever been to one. However, I've known people who have, and they go there and they say the energy is really heavy. And I see them as there as that being preserved so that people can go and visit the battlefield. And I'm wondering
Mm-hmm.
if it wouldn't be best for the earth to actually go and do a healing in a place like this. And
Mm,
what would you do if this was something that you were called to do? How would you help that land?
absolutely. And so beautiful because so many of us maybe don't have the language just like me. And I traveled through Europe, um, and went to war fields, and I would be physically sick. I would feel like all the things in my body, but I didn't know what it was or how to work with it. And it's only through trial and error that I've really landed in this space where I can walk into any space and feel it and shift it through my body. So I have an innate trust in our body. But
Mhm.
the first thing I would recommend doing is whenever you whenever you enter a space, I always say hello. I always say hi. And you may, so there's always a gatekeeper to a space. So even in this, memorial, there'll always be two trees or stones or something. There'll be a threshold. And the more you look for these little signs in nature, the more that you will feel like, oh, I'm arriving into a space. For a war memorial, it's obvious because you would have it right there, but nature will also play a role in this space, I guarantee it. So welcoming yourself to land, welcoming yourself to the space. And I always think if you lead with innocence and you lead with joy and your heart, you're already removing the shields on your heart. You're arriving into any space, whatever the energy is, perceived darkness, heaviness, trauma. When you arrive from not here, but here, you're already coming in vulnerable. Like, hi, hi. And if some people like to pick up the soil, I know the Wadandi people where I'm from, they, rub the soil under their arms, throw it back to the earth and welcome themselves to country. I do this by just imagining myself as a Care Bear. So I just imagine my heart just opening and I'm like, hi. I feel my feet in the earth, and because I work with the energetics, I work with my earth star, really grow those arms out so I feel supported. Um, and then I would enter that space. I would, I, when you lead with confidence and trust that you're capable, and this comes with practice, you don't just arrive into this space. It's by continually doing it that you're like, okay, I've got this. But arriving into the space, grounded in your heart, and then almost just intuitively feel it. Just feel like what is coming to you and turn off logic, because most of the time it's like being given breadcrumbs and you'll get a sensation or you'll feel it, or if you're a seer, you may have a visual of the past. So imagine that you're getting this vision of death or whatever it is. The more you ground and the more that you breathe up from the earth, right up from that crystallix pond deep in the womb of mama, you will be supported and stable. And when we're drawing up from the earth and letting that just wash out of our heart, it doesn't affect the body as much. It's not going to, those times where you can go to a shopping center and you're like absolutely floored because your energy's drained, or you've gone into a dense trauma spot on the earth and it really takes its toll on your body. What I've learned over the years with working with the Earth Star, that it's this endless source of nourishment. It never ends, neither does our heart. So if we're drawing up and out in this endless flow, we're letting our intuition read the earth, and we're just sending the intention that that beautiful harmonic energy is just healing that space. And it must be from heart, not from ego. We operate from ego in these spaces, we will be challenged then. And the information, it's almost like initiations. The more you open your heart, the more vulnerable you are, the more that the earth gives you, as in information, intuition, sensation. And not to say that if you walk and you're like, I've got nothing, that you're not open. It's just going to take time to refine. But yeah, that's the most basic way to step into a space to connect with it, is lead with the heart.
And you mentioned that you work with your Earth Star, and that was something that I wanted to ask you more about. Would you explain maybe how you discovered that and what exactly it does for you? How do we find ours? Or is it universal?
It is universal because it is part of you, it is part of us, and it's part of our energetics. And this blew my mind back in March 2020, because I work with sound and I am a seer. So I haven't learnt through knowledge, I've learnt my work through remembering, and it's through working with clients that I would see, this star at their feet, and I have no knowledge that it's called the Earth Star chakra. I just see it, and then I have to go out and piece it all together. Anyway, March 2020, quite interesting, the timing. Mother Gaia shifted earth templates. And it went, so I can only explain it through sound because that's my
Right.
bridge. So the Earth Star used to sound like this. And if you just feel that, it's quite heavy. And it used to like anchor us into the earth, like up to our knees, and we'd be like stabilized. And then in March 2020, she went through this shift. And I've now been studying it and working with my clients and understanding it deeper and deeper. But it sounds now like this. And it's almost like Mama Gaia said, come stars. Oh, I get quite emotional. But these are my conversations with her, like, come star seeds. it's like she poured the stars from the center of her womb so we could call up the lightness of our cosmic remembrance, so we could walk upon the earth within the earth, but still be honoring that lightness and that expanse of our cosmic selves. So the density and the shift in her template um, really shifted as the world went into silence, into stillness. Quite fascinating. And so now, so I also used to see it as the tetrahedron.
Right.
And what happened was she elongated.
Mm-hmm.
The sound changed, and instead of this dense, because we needed to be stabilized, now it's like liquid stars, effervescent, pearlescent. And I've actually demystified what is in the crystallex over the years, and so I now am training people. I think the Earth Star is one of those chakras that doesn't necessarily turn on for people. I find that sound can activate it, grounding can activate it, but many people on the planet, their Earth Star's not active. And that's why we have this epidemic of anxiety. It's really just an energetic block. Yeah. So
Right.
we're energy, universal energy wants to come through us and into the earth. That's us being this beautiful bridge. But when our energy centers get blocked, it bounces. So by working the Earth Star through growing the arms through the earth and all of the beautiful process that goes with it, we can be truly supported, truly nourished, like truly nourished. Like, I don't think our human aspects can even fathom yet. I know I don't even think I can fathom how nourished we can be, like just by constantly breathing up the Earth Star. But yes, it's available for everyone. And once it's activated, um, it's the endless tap. It's our foundation. And like anything, we need that solid foundation before we even go to our upper chakras. We need to be grounded and rooted in our body temple. So we are weaving our consciousness in our human reality. We're not jumping out to our energetics and floating off and going over here, and we need to embody. And for me, the Earth Star is that bridge. It actually holds everything. I feel like Mother Gaia just gave us everything we need, and it's in our Earth Star.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always felt like everything we need comes from the ground. Because I'm a soil scientist, I say, hey, everything comes from the ground. Everything,
Yes.
everything, including time, money, opportunities, everything comes from the ground. I was wondering what you would tell somebody when you talk about that bringing you foundation. And then that, what follows is stability, trust. What do you say to somebody who believes that foundation for them is a good job and a good salary and a good home to live in, a happy family? How
Mhm.
is the foundation that you receive from this Earth Star and from the Earth herself not necessarily better, but the same, maybe, or creates
I
a
think it has,
foundation?
yeah. I feel whatever the human desire is, like whatever the human aspect needs or wants to attain, we have free will and everyone has different desires. But it's really hard to attain and move forward to achieve whatever goals and desires we have as a human being without first being grounded, because um, it's it's almost like if you're not grounded, if you've got anxiety, your energetics are all out, no matter what you have or experience in your life, you're still going to be a wonky. It's almost like we can take all the supplements, we can go on all holidays, we can have like all the things, but without being truly grounded and connected to earth, I don't think those things can truly flourish. And, people might say, yeah, but that person over there, they've created everything that I want and they're not connected to the earth. But I guarantee you, in their own way, they have a really solid foundation. And I guarantee you that if we had a conversation, they would be rooted in themselves and they would have that stable foundation. Um, for me, it's that first step for all things. I think it's the first step in being human is being grounded, and from that space, everything else becomes easier because we have a foundation. It's like, you can't build a house without one. It's the same
Right.
as our life. It's the same as our desires and whatever we're magnetizing into this life. It has to have that so it becomes that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I answered that question. I did go like a bit
I think
segue
whatever
there.
the answer you gave is the perfect answer. So I was really curious what you would say. I'm curious now about all of this energy that can come from the earth. And when you bring people to it, what are they getting? You did mention
Mhm.
activating DNA. Could you explain more about what they are getting?
Yeah, so what I've seen now by offering this activation and giving the tools and the grounding breath, it really is so simple. I see from an energy lens point, I see people are grounded. When you meet someone and they're really up there and they're not in themselves, this brings people in to themselves. It's giving them, oh, sorry, my light language just turned on then as I did that. I was um, what is it giving them? All things, really. It's giving them energetic alignment. It's giving them connection to self. It's giving them connection to earth. And it's giving them the opportunity to begin to understand the magnitude of oneness. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it's giving them.
yeah.
And that looks a little different for everyone, but that is the umbrella that it gives.
And
It gives this unwavering trust.
yeah.
It gives this stability. It gives this sovereignty. And it's an inside job. It really is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that that's a whole visual for me that really completes my understanding of your message. And I have this other curiosity because I have a special relationship with bees, and you have this bee thread running through things. You have little honeycombs, and you have bees on your land where you live. And I did see it, it looked like it was from the Australian fires, maybe back when there were all the fires, you lost some bee friends. And I was wondering if the bees had come back, and what do they say to you?
Yeah, so the honeybee, I say she is my great teacher. She's really taken me on this journey over the past few years, really immensely and deeply. And again, with innocence, I didn't know there was such thing as the bee priestess and all the initiations until after I was initiated by the bee and was taken into the hive in a like sort of a shamanic experience, no drugs, just the sting of a beautiful honeybee. And I had a fallen log, so a natural hive, wild honeybees, and they have been my great teachers. Um, and so for me, the honeybee can teach us as humans everything that we need. She has outlived us in all the falls of civilization. To me, she comes from Venus, and she is the keeper of the sacred feminine, the sexual mysteries that were all shrouded. So the more I learn and watch and hear and sit with the honeybee, the more I learn about the feminine within me, the more I learn about community. And she's actually inspired like the vision that I hold, the bigger than me, because the honeybee, she lives in a synarchy. She lives in a true democracy. She lives in sound and vibration and harmonics. And there's a devotion. There's a devotion to self and the hive that is so pure. So yeah, the bee is just ever present. When I'm outside, she'll come and just vibrate, and she activates me now just right through my body. She can just that hum, you know, when a bee's around you, she can just give you, like, I call them the bliss codes. It goes straight to the activates all the womb essence and energy, and she just leads you. So I mean, even just experience the pleasure of receiving honey, you know, from a physical, the the devotion and everything that we receive from her. I think the more that we can look to the honeybee, the better place humanity will be.
Mm,
Yeah.
I do love bees
Yeah.
that, and I've noticed there is this a feminine thread that runs through a lot of what you talk about, and the way you use the womb and you do womb work, and the way you connect. And I almost forgot to ask you this question because it came up in my mind about 15 minutes ago. Does this work for men?
Absolutely. I have like predominantly women are drawn to my work, but when a divine masculine steps forward, like I just bow in reverence because I know that he has a very balanced feminine and he has a very balanced masculine because he can hold a feminine in her highest version. So the men that are drawn to work with me, I get really excited when they step forward. And it's really funny. I just take them straight away there because sometimes I will work their energetic womb, even though they've incarnated as a man in this life. The depth that I work on, I'm working with the energetics of them. And so many lives they've had the womb space in the physical body. So it's actually that void, that field that I'm working with. So we have a good laugh and then we get into the deep stuff.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. Do you have any I know you just had a retreat, but do you have any coming up that are planned? Anything that you want to talk about as far as your offerings?
Yeah, well, I have the Golden Rose Mystery School, which is a really beautiful, well, it's the hive is part of it, and the society we meet and we really co-create like the honeybees do. So she's a big part of my mystery school. I have a retreat in Glastonbury in September. I have a few spaces left on that one. So yeah, we get onto the earth. I take people to the really special sacred sites. Some of the locals don't even know these sites, and when I share them, they're like, "Oh my God," because a lot of them are hidden and
Mhm.
are revealed when you're ready to receive that. So that is the end of September, Glastonbury. And then there's another one that I haven't even opened or shared with anyone. So really you're the first, but I'm going to Bryn Celli Thi. So it is a mound in the Dark Grove in Anglesey, Wales. And it's actually my exact Venus star alignment in this
Okay.
life. My
Yeah.
astrologer, yeah. And so that is an earth template. My husband took me there last year when we were all in England. And going back to the mound, I remembered the template 13,000 years before. And that earth template is this access point to the deep primordial waters, and this space invites us to rebirth and reweave the threads of our primordial remembrance and our primal self. So I'm only taking 4 people. That's how intimate and deep that
Okay.
retreat is. That will be all earth walking. We will be recreating and burying the placenta to activate our destined path. And we will be wrapped and sung home. And I
Mm.
know that space because I've incarnated many, many times and worked that earth grid. So it's really special. So they're the
Um,
two that are just around the corner, and that is a few days after the Glastonbury one. So the end of September. Yeah, I don't have linear, so like I lose dates and times, but they're both at the end of September and they're all on the
wow,
website.
that sounds very like it's going to be a very beautiful and amazing experience. And I'm honored that the people who are listening here might get first might get their first chance at approaching you about this. And if they wanted to do that, how would they contact you?
Yeah, either through my website, rachaeltewano.com, or just through my socials. I'm very relaxed and open, so if you feel drawn to reach out, I also do like 15-minute free calls so we can just have a feel for one another and ask questions, sit and have a laugh. And that's always a really beautiful way to connect as well. So whatever way they feel drawn to reach out, I really can't wait and begin to connect deeper to self and earth. I feel like it's really time to take it to energetic and really expand it into the multidimensional, because that's what we're capable of as human beings now. It's really an exciting time to be alive. Mm.
Definitely. It definitely it is. Thank you so much for your time
Thank you.
today. And I wanted to remind everybody that if you didn't catch all of her contact information, you can check the email that Rachel's interview is in. This email that you have, it'll be in there, and ways to get a hold of her. This has been just really beautiful. It's been like, I don't know, it's been like a really warm, gooey chocolate chip cookie to me. Just the
Me
very nourishing and
too.
delicious, and it just makes you want to eat it slowly and really enjoy it. Thank you so much for gifting your time today, Rachel.
Thank you for your time and what you're creating, and thank you for spreading this awareness. Like, it's really a powerful role that you're playing with us. You're bringing us all together so we can really, find one another. I think
Yeah,
we all hold keys. So thank you for your part. It's just been my privilege and honor to sit with
thank you
you and share this energy space with you. So thank you so much, Amanda.
so much. All right, everybody. There you go,
Bye.
Rachel Te Wano.